Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel, Attorney E Immigration Lawyer. Today's episode po ay pag-usapan natin ang temporary protected status and why I think the US government should designate TPS for the Philippines, and also why I think you should support this petition. Okay. Before we start, first I want to commend the Biden administration for taking action on this. The Secretary of Homeland Security designated two countries for TPS recently, si Venezuela and si Burma. Ang TPS po or Temporary Protected Status ay binibigay ng Amerika sa mga foreign nationals ng isang bansa kung ang bansa na yon cannot handle the safe return of its nationals. So kung ipapabalik mo itong mga nationals na ito sa kanilang bansa, ay hindi ma-handle ng kanilang government safely ang pagbalik nitong mga nationals na ito. Because of this, two countries were designated. Noong March 9, Venezuela, and then noong March 12 naman po ay Burma or Myanmar. As you know, itong Venezuela, ay nagkaroon ng serious economic and political crisis with their president, with their leader Maduro. And ito naman pong sa Burma ay nagkaroon ng matinding violence, brutal violence because of the military coup and security forces. So mayroong matinding violence against civilians. The people of Burma are suffering a complex and deteriorating humanitarian crisis in many parts of the country. And because of this extraordinary situations, nabigyan po ng temporary protected status ang Venezuela and Burma. Ang ibig sabihin nito, yung mga nationals nila na nandito sa US na undocumented or naipit dito sa US at hindi makabalik or na-expire ng visa, will be able to get a relief, parang temporary relief, which will free them temporarily from deportation. It will also allow them to work in the United States, get an employment authorization document for the duration of the TPS. Ang temporary protected status ay effective for 18 months. And ang ginagawa ng US government, nire-renew nila ito until they see na wala na yung situation na yon. So ang temporary protected status ay ibinibigay sa mga bansa kung may extraordinary situation ang bansang ito. Say, mayroong ongoing armed conflict, mayroong war, mayroong epidemic, or mayroong disaster, environmental or natural disaster, ay po pwedeng mag-grant ng TPS ang US. Say, yun nangyari sa Haiti, na nagkaroon ng matinding earthquake at marami pong mga Haitians na hindi makabalik sa kanilang bansa, safely ay nag-grant din po ng TPS ang US government. Ang nangyari naman sa Liberia, remember, nagkaroon sila ng civil war, nagkaroon din po ng temporary protected status designated for Liberia. Itong pangyayari sa Venezuela and Burma ay ganun din po. I think, and I will ask for your support, mayroon pong petition ngayon sa change.org/TPS for Philippines. Go to this website and copy and paste this link and supportahan po ninyo, urging President Biden, si Vice President Kamala Harris, and Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas to designate Philippines for temporary protected status because of the serious health crisis that the Philippines is experiencing right now. As you know, ang Philippines ang number 1 ngayon sa ating region na merong pinakamataas na COVID cases every day, with the government having no concrete plan on dealing with the situation. tayo rin po ang bansa na may pinakamatagal ng lockdown because of COVID. And more than a year na, but it seems na parang mas grumabe pa compared to last year ang situation. Mayroon din tayong crisis sa vaccination because very limited ang vaccination natin sa Philippines, and it will be so unsafe para po dagdagan pa natin ang problema ng Philippines sa pagpapauwi ng ating mga nationals na nandito sa US kung pauuwiin pa sa Philippines at this time. In fact, ang Philippine government has been unable to effectively and safely support yung mga overseas Filipino workers natin na umuwi or were forced to return because of the COVID pandemic. Tayo po ang may pinakamatagal na lockdown isa sa pinakamatagal na lockdown sa buong mundo. And number 9 po tayo worldwide sa pinakamataasang cases ng COVID. Itong lockdown na ito ay nagagamit po to curtail all forms of civilian dissent. Patuloy din po ang extrajudicial killings and red tagging para dun sa mga bibigay ng opinion na criticizing the government. And because of this, we should urge President Biden, the Vice President Kamala Harris, and the Secretary of Homeland Security to designate temporary protected status para po sa mga Filipino nationals na nandito ngayon sa Amerika. Alam niyo, itong mga kababayan natin, especially those who came here with a worker visa, na because of the COVID pandemic, nagkaroon ng termination. Ang daming termination na nangyari. Contract ending. And parang wala ng consequences because of this situation na hindi rin naman kontrolado ng mga employers. Yung mga J1 visa holders naman natin, itong mga estudyante natin, mga trainees, interns, you know that they paid for their program para makarating dito sa Amerika. And then pagdating dito, I actually know some J1 people na pagdating nila, automatic termination agad ng kanilang kontrata because of what happened nga itong COVID pandemic. Maraming naipit dito, maraming mga tourist visa holders na, especially mga elders natin, yung mga lola at lolo na bumisita sa kanilang mga mahal sa buhay dito sa Amerika with a tourist visa, and then all of a sudden nag-lockdown, hindi makabalik, and then na-expire na rin sila ng kanilang tourist visa status. I think the US government should help our fellow Filipinos na nandito sa Amerika na nawala ng status, na naipit dahil dito sa pandemic na ito, at hindi rin makabalik sa Pilipinas safely because the Philippine government has not been able to support the return of its nationals. In fact, a few weeks ago, nag-issue ng mga advisory excluding pati yung mga Filipino nationals na hindi overseas Filipino workers from returning. Because the Philippine government is not capable at this time to handle the safe return of its people. Ang temporary protected status will allow the Filipino nationals here, yung mga undocumented, to have temporary relief for the duration of the TPS. And then, kapag okay na ang status, then the TPS will end. And if the government can handle na the safe return of its people, then the TPS, then the US government can end the TPS. So it's very temporary in nature, pero isa siyang relief. And it also allows TPS holder to work legally in the United States. So especially itong mga workers natin na nandito sa US, I'm talking about yung mga H, mga J, mga L visa holders na hindi naman sila yung mga executives, and nag-contract end na sila. Kung pauuwiin sila sa Philippines, sa tingin nyo ba ay mayroong hanap buhay pa para sa kanila? Ngayon nga po, napakataas na ng unemployment rate. Milyon-milyon na. Yung mga overseas Filipino workers natin from other countries na umuwi, they were not able to get any employment na rin sa Philippines. Kaya importante po that we urge the Homeland Security, our President in the United States to designate the Philippines for temporary protected status dahil sa matinding humanitarian crisis na nangyayari ngayon sa Philippines. I ask you to go to this website, change.org. Ang pangalan po ng petition natin ay TPS for Philippines. Please sign. Kailangan po natin ay 1,000 signatures. Then it's gonna go to the Office of the President, to the concerned government agencies. I'm counting on you po, and I'm asking for your support para po sa mga kababayan nating undocumented na nandito ngayon sa Amerika. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.